Okay. All right, I see some new people already joined. So I can see Jack, Leo. Um, Hi guys, thank you for joining. And today we're going to be starting lesson 9 of our Roblox Studio course. It will be the second to last lesson. We're going to have one more lesson where we will conclude this Roblox Studio course, and you guys can kind of share games and ideas as well. And that'll be it. We had 10 classes for this course. We learned about many different things, including like modeling and lighting and a bit of scripting. And next class we'll kind of like conclude that, and then maybe we can do something fun, okay? But today is lesson 9, and we're actually going to be learning about special effects and sounds. So let's get started. All right, first of all, does anyone have any questions or they want to share out some ideas or sh showcase their project or anything? Maybe like something they have made or like a map or something like that. If you still haven't finished it, it's fine. Maybe like if you have any questions, you can also ask now, so then I can answer it for you. Or um, yeah, just feel free to explore. You don't have to share out, and then maybe you can like yeah, just enjoy the process, I guess. Okay. All right. So I guess we're just going to move on today. Okay. So first of all, today we're going to be using another template, and then we're going to be building on top of it. So can everyone just open up Roblox Studio? Okay. So just open Roblox Studio on your computer, and then so I have it open already, but I'll try to close. I'll try to make a new one. So then a new file. So I can open it with you guys, okay? All right, let me see if I can. Okay. All right, just open up your Roblox Studio and then we'll kind of get started. All right. So let me just go back to the main screen. Okay. So after you open up Roblox Studio, you should be seeing something like this, just like you would normally look at, just like you would normally see when you first open Roblox Studio, right? And maybe you can recognize some of the templates we used before, including like we used castle, capture the flag, we used combat and obby. And today we're going to be just using Pirate Island, but we're actually going to be not actually going to use like the different boats and stuff. We're actually going to be building some special effects for the game, okay? So you guys can click on this one. It's in the home screen, under all templates, and then you can just click on this icon that says Pirate Island, okay? Give you guys a minute to open Roblox Studio because sometimes it takes an upgrade, and it probably updated this week, so it will take maybe a few minutes to upgrade. And then remember that and then you should be logged in. If you're not, just log in. Okay, I'm going to click on this first. All right, so when you click on it, then it will load that template for you, and it should open to something like this. Su dispositivo no está en línea. Para conectarlo, desliza el dedo desde la pantalla. All right. Okay. Okay, so after you open the pirate island, it should show something like this with a lot of trees, and you can also see like some houses here. These are like wooden houses, and you can see that there's some texture on it. And textures are basically like images. So with the wooden image, you can kind of see like the plank, like how the house is built. But it's not really wood because it's just one block. But then when you look from far away, you can see that it looks like a wooden house, right? So that's textures, and maybe like next class or in future courses I can explain, but right now we're not going to learn about it yet. And you can see some houses here and some pretty basic trees here. They don't look too realistic, but it's in a pretty good style. And they're kind of placed weirdly. Like you can see it going like a curve. That is not too good because you want the trees to be placed in a natural way. With some trees maybe over here, right? So yeah, that is not very good. And all right, and it looks decent, Pirate Island. But today I want to talk about special effects, okay? So did anyone have trouble opening Roblox Studio or just can't open the project or something? Okay, so I guess we'll move on. I'm just gonna close this project. We're going to be using this one. It's the same thing, but I've added a few things to it. So we can kind of build on that. All right. So this should be what you're seeing. It's Pirate Island, and there are boats. There are some trees. There are two houses, but you can see here that there's a volcano, right? But on the volcano, there's smoke coming out of it. So smoke is one type of special effect, and it's also going to be something we'll learn to use today. Okay. So first of all, what are special effects? So special effects can be also be called RFX. Um, it's things in the game that move around, and they can be particles, or they can be like cool, like glow with lights and stuff, but they make the game look cooler, right? So on the right, you can see this fire blast effect. So if you play like Pokemon, then maybe when the Pokemon uses a move, then that move comes with special effects, right? Like let's say you use like Hydro Pump, then like the water will be a type of special effect, right? Or you can use like something else, like maybe even some fog could be special effects, right? And you see here, there are some like wind currents going like down and spiral, right? That's also one type of special effect. And then down here, you can see some more high graphics, like harder to make special effects. So this one is like a laser beam, right? Going down. And then there's some hints of lightning or electrical sparkles going off here. And in this one, you can see it's kind of green and it's also like lightning type special effects. So they all look really cool, right? Like you can see some smoke here as well. And then they make the game look brighter and also it makes it look cooler, right? Yeah, for examples, special effects can be fire, lightning, smoke, light, especially light. There can be a lot of glow. Like you can see some very bright parts here in the fire and wind, and it makes your game look better and cooler. But remember that special effects can be um very laggy, so you don't want to use too many or it might slow your game down. But when you use it, it will also create movement in your game because the special effect will be constantly moving. Like for example, if you had fire, when you stand still, the fire will keep rising up, right? So it's kind of moving when you're not, and it makes your game look alive and makes your game look like dynamic, right? So you're not just like standing there with nothing moving, but you actually have something moving in the background, so it looks like you're actually in that place, right? That's it, okay, for special effects. And now we're going to try out some special effects inside Roblox Studio, okay? We'll kind of experiment with it, test it out a bit, and help you understand how to use special effects. All right. So first, you guys can go back to the Roblox Studio place. And you can see I've already built some special effects here, but we're going to start over, okay? I'm gonna close the toolbox. As always, the first step is to open the Explorer and Properties. So you can find it by going to View first. And then down here, you'll see Explorer and Properties on the left. So again, just press on them to open Explorer and Properties. And then you see and you see like the windows opening up in the right, right? This is what we've been learning for a long time, so you guys should be able to remember it. Right? So after you've opened this one, then the next step is to create a part. So think about, so when you have special effects, it can't just like randomly appear here. It needs something to attach to. Like if you have a fire, then something has to be burning, right? There can't be only fire. For example, like you can have a burning car, you can have a burning piece of wood, right? But you can't just have nothing burning with flames coming out. So in Roblox, it's almost the same. You need to make a part, or you can have like any object. Like for example, this house can be on fire, and then the tree can be on fire, right? But the ground couldn't really be fire because the terrain, remember, when you can build the land with terrain isn't really a part, so I'm not sure if you can really place a fire on it. But what you can do is place an invisible part, um, and then have fire attached to it. So then it will look like the land is burning, but it's actually a part burning. Okay. So first, let's try creating fire on a brick. And remember, you can create a brick by first going to Workspace in Explorer here, right? Okay. Just click on Workspace, and then you'll see many like blue lines telling you that these objects are all inside Workspace, right? And you can see in Workspace, there's a lot of models, including like cannons and then some chest, right? So first, we're going to click on Workspace. Okay, everyone just click on Workspace. And then you can see a small plus sign next to it, right? We're gonna click on that. And on here, the first part, you can see the brick or a base part. It's the most basic part of Roblox. So you can see it here, just click on it. And you've built a brick or a part. It should appear right in front of you, right over here. You can see it. You can drag it around to move it. And it should just be a very simple brick. So now we are going to add fire and add special effects to this brick. How do we do it? So first, we select the brick by finding it in Workspace. You guys shouldn't have this part. So you guys should only have one part. And when you scroll down or by dragging this, you should see the part at the very end, okay? So on top, you couldn't really see it, but you can see on the bottom. Or you can just click on it to select it. And when you select it, it should have like a blue outline, like this. All right, after you can see the blue outline, then go to the Explorer and click plus again. So in here, we can add our special effects. After you click the plus, type fire. All right, I'm just gonna turn it to US mode and then go to the part, click the plus sign, and type fire, okay? You can find the fire here very quickly. There's like a small flame logo next to it. I'll give you guys 1 minute to open this part up. Okay, after you found this special effect, just click on it. Okay, just to remind you, first we went to workspace, we pressed the plus sign, we added a part, and then we clicked on that part and we added a fire to it, right? So basically a fire can be on any part, right? So you can have like maybe this house, but right now it's not really the house, it's the volcano island. So you have to find the house by going inside this big model, and then you can see many smaller parts. And then you can find this hut, right? So you can also add fire to this. A fire can be on any part, not just this small part, but it can be also on very big parts as well. For example, if you type fire here, it wouldn't really show anything because a fire can only be on a part, right? It can be on a model. So let's say you have, so you can see many parts here inside this hut, which is basically a house. And for the hut to be burning, you just have to put a fire on one of its parts, right? So let's say I want fire on this part. Just like what I did with this part, I have to put the fire inside that brick, which means that I can just drag it right on top of the part. And remember when we talked about like parent and children, you can say that this fire is a child of this parent part, or you can see that this fire is inside this part, right? It goes inside by one, and that means the fire is going to be part of this. And you can see the fire here, but it's kind of weird. And that's because this part is kind of like rotated. So that's why the fire is going like the wrong way, right? And I'm pretty sure you can change it inside here. I'm not sure you can change it inside, but let me see if we can find another part. So if the fire is burning like sideways, then maybe like try another part because unless you want to like kind of rotate it back. So let's see if this part has any rotation. Maybe this part. This part doesn't really work as well. Maybe we can try some other part. Okay. Okay. Maybe we can try this one later. But you can see the fire here, but it's not really burning the correct direction, right? Maybe we can try it with particle emitter, which we'll use later. But for now, let's just focus on this part, and then we can maybe put the part on the hut, so then it looks like the hut is burning. but for now, we're just gonna use this part. So after you created the fire, if you want to change the fire, then first you just click on a part. You can't really click on fire. See, when I click here, nothing happens. So first I click on the part, and then in Explorer, remember you can find everything in Explorer, right? You can see the part, you can see the fire inside that part. So we're just gonna click on the fire, and there are many different things you can change. So let's go back to here. This is the fire effect. You can change things like making the flame go higher. You can change the color of the flame. You can make the fire go shorter or taller or more wide. And yeah, the fire will only show if you attach it to a Roblox part, okay? Not a model, not a tool, and not like workspace or terrain, right? Only a Roblox part would work with fire. So let's say you put the fire inside players or you put inside lighting, it's going to disappear, right? But if you put it inside a part by just dragging it, and you can see the green plus sign, right? Just click on here, and now the fire appears. So it will only appear if it's attached to a Roblox part. And this is the same for the special effects we're going to be talking about today. You'll find out very soon. Okay, so now let's try changing some of the colors. Just click on the fire and we can maybe change it into like a blue flame, right? You can just drag around the color. This one looks really cool. And then we can change the heat to 30. So it's going up really quickly, right? But it's still a pretty small flame. So we can make it like so much bigger by turning up the size. So now you see it looks like a big flame, right? And we're going to increase the heat even more. Wow, looks very cool. And this time scale thing, it's called time scale. It's the final like property in the properties plate. It determines how fast the flames are going. So if I move it down, then you can see that the flame so, but if I increase it, then it's going much faster. And I'm pretty sure it's the maximum is 1 and the minimum is 0. I'm not sure if it's negative. Okay, negative one doesn't work. 0 just means the flame stops moving. See? There's nothing moving here. And to make it go faster, you just have to increase time scale by scrolling like this. And now you can see the flame going up, right? Very cool. So this is basically the fire effect. And then let's try, okay, so let's change back to like a very cool red color. See? It looks like a real flame, right? And now we're going to put it on top of this house to look like the house is burning, right? So the first step, let's just drag the part on top of the house like this. All right. But this looks really bad for 2 reasons. First, you can see the part here. So it's kind of lame and the players will know that the fire is on the part and not on the house, right? And second, the fire is going sideways, so it doesn't look really realistic. All right, so first we will actually click on this brick and we're going to rotate it so that's back to the top rotation. All right, so you can rotate it with 2 ways. First, you can go to model and you can see here there's a rotate option. this tells you how much you rotate when you drag it. But to actually rotate it, you have to click on the rotate here. And you'll see three rings, right? The red ring, the green ring, and the blue ring. And by dragging each of the rings, you can change the rotation
Or the
or
angle?
sorry,
Or
do you
the
have
angle?
can you say it again?
It's like you change the angle of it.
Yes, yeah. So rotation is basically angle, you're right. And there are three ways you can change it, right? You can change it like again, like top or bottom, and then left or right. So you can make it go like sideways, right? But right now we're gonna make the angle face up by just kind of adjusting it so then it's going up, right? So this is the first step. You can also change rotation. Remember, inside properties by going down here, and you'll see that the current rotation is 2.07301. And it says orientation. Orientation is basically the same as rotation, which are angles for the part, right? So what you want to do is you just want to, if you want the part to be completely going up, then you can just change rotation to 0, 0, 0, which means that the part will be in the default position, or it will be in like the normal position, right? And it'll be going up. So you can just change it to 0, 0, 0 for that to work. Okay. And now we just have to make the part invisible. So like players don't see the part burning and they see the house burning, right? So again, we go to the properties of the part, and down here, scroll down and let's see. Okay, so you can see, all right. I'm not sure where the visible is, but I guess we can use transparency. All right. So I think they changed it a bit. Now there isn't really like a visible or invisible button for a brick. There used to be a button that says visible, and then when you click it, then the part will become invisible. But now you have to change it by um changing the transparency of the brick. So transparency is basically like whether you can see through the part, right? So let's say you have glass, you can see through glass. So the glass has a low transparency or high transparency, if you want to think of it that way. Um, if you have like a brick, like for example, this house that's like wood or stone, then it has very low transparency, right? Because you can't really see through it. But okay, so now for the part, we want it to be invisible. So basically, we want everything to see through it, right? And to do that, we just have to turn transparency to the maximum one. And now you can see that the part disappeared, right? So it kind of looks like the house is burning, but it's not that good, but I would say it looks quite good. And you can still move the part. So remember when it's invisible, you can still kind of select it over like this, or you can click on it in Explorer and you can select it, move it around by going to move on top here or here. I'm gonna move it to around here, right? So now it kind of looks like the house is burning, but we can add more smoke and other things to it to make it look even better. All right, so now you can see here that we created the fire. All right, we've got a few more a few more effects to go. So let's get started. All right, how about we create another part by just clicking on part here, or you can press the plus sign. So this time I'm just going to click on part in home. So go to home, and then you can see the part button here. I'm just gonna click on that, and then a brick is created, right? So now we have two parts. It um might be like we might mix it up, right? So in order for us to know which part is the fire and which part is the other effect, let's click on the fire part. And then here we click it once or twice. So you should just click it once, and now we can change the name. So we're gonna change the name to fire parts, okay? You can name it whatever you want. You can just name it fire if you want. Or you can name it like a fire brick and just and press enter. Rename so we know that um this part called fire part is going to be the fire for this house, right? And that's the fire part, and we have a new part down here with no special effects yet, but we can add more to it. So again, we press the plus button, but first I just want to talk about the next effect. It's called sparkle effect. So you can see in the picture here that there are some pink stars going out of it, and this is called sparkle. It can be used for many things, like when you cast a spell, then you can have this effect going out to make it look really cool, right? Or maybe if you have a magical castle, then you want some sparkles going out of the castle, right? So how do you create it? It's very similar to fire. You can only put it on top of a part, and we have a part here, right? So we're just going to press plus, but instead of searching fire, we are going to search sparkle. See? So last time we searched fire to create the fire here, but this time we are going to click sparkle. And when you click on it, you'll see some stars going out of the part, right? The part and sparkles here. And again, there's many things you can change, but sparkles, there's only two things you can change. First, it's the color of the sparkle. So I'm going to change it maybe into like a turquoise or a red sparkle. I think a blue sparkle works really well. So I'm going to make it blue like this. And you can also change how fast it's moving by adjusting the time scale. I'm going to make it move a bit slower like this. So sparkle effect is much more simple. There's only two things you can change, and um it's not really that good because there's something called a particle emitter that allows you to change more things about this effect, okay? But you can still use it because it's very convenient. It's very easy to use and easy to create. So you can use it if you want. So that's the sparkle effect. You just have to search sparkle inside workspace. Remember always to put it inside a part, because if you don't, like for example, you just click on workspace and you create a sparkles, then nothing will happen because workspace is not a part, right? You have to put it inside a part for it to show. All right, so next, let's talk about the smoke effect. The smoke effect is, I think, a really cool special effect for Roblox because there's so many ways you can use it and it will look really cool. So obviously smoke can be used with fire. Let's say you have a fire and normally when something burns, there is smoke coming out of it, right? So you can use a smoke effect with the fire, and I'll teach you how to use it with this fire later. So other than fire, it can be used for clouds or fog. So when you have maybe like a foggy map, then you can use the smoke to kind of block the player, right? To make it look mysterious. Or when you have, let's say, a gun, and then it fires a bullet, then that gun will have like tiny smoke coming out of it, right? So there are many ways you can use the smoke effect. And now let's open it inside Roblox Studio. Okay, if you don't want to make a new part, then you can just delete the sparkles here by pressing delete. And you have another part here. I mean, it's the same part, but you just delete the sparkles. So now it's just a normal part. We're going to open we're going to open a smoke effect on this part by clicking plus like we did with the fire. And we're going to type smoke. Okay. So after you type smoke, there should be a smoke effect. Immediately you can see smoke going right like this. All right. So there can be many use cases for the smoke. I'm just going to duplicate it for now, so I can show you many ways to use it. So first, I want to show you how to use it with fire to make it look cooler. So again, we are going to, so first, we're going to make the smoke look like smoke coming out of a fire, right? Now, it looks like when you have hot water, there's like some steam going out of it. It's more like steam and not smoke. So in order to make it look more like a smoke, we can change the color first, right? Color is very important. Right now it's like a white color. That will make it look more like steam, right? And clouds. We're going to make the color darker like this. So it looks like smoke, right? Now it's like now it has a darker color. It looks more like smoke and not like steam. And now we want the smoke to rise up, right? When you have a fire, it goes really high, but not really going this sideways, right? So like when you have a campfire or when you have a furnace or fireplace, the smoke always goes straight up. And you can change this by actually increasing the rise velocity. So we're going to make it um go straight up and maybe smaller values so that it doesn't go quickly, it doesn't go too quickly. All right, now you can see the smoke going straight up, right? That's called rise velocity. Basically, it tells you how fast it's rising. But now it looks a bit too weak. There's like too little smoke. And to increase it, you can basically lower the opacity or actually increase the opacity. So opacity is the opposite of transparency. Basically, it's just like how it's like the same thing, but it's opposite. It's to adjust, yeah, whether things can see through it. So when you have a high opacity, the smoke looks very clear, right? But when you change it down to like 0.3 maybe, then it's really light. We want it to be darker. So we're going to type 1 for the opacity. And now we can see that it's like very dark, right? And we also want the size to be a bit bigger, like this. So it looks a lot like real smoke. See? Okay, now we just have to combine the fire and the smoke. So how do you do that? Remember, a part can have multiple effects. It doesn't need to have one effect, right? So for example, that we know that this part has a fire effect. What we have to do is we have to put the smoke effect inside the fire part. So the fire part has both fire and smoke. So now the fire part only has fire, right? All we have to do is move the smoke into the fire part by clicking it and dragging it into the fire part. And now we have created fire and we have created a smoke. So now the fire goes with the smoke and it looks something like this. So now it looks a bit better. I mean, a lot better actually. Now there's some smoke and there's some fire. And you can also change the fire to make it look maybe more realistic, maybe making it move a bit slower and changing down the heat. Right? Something like this. You can actually make the smoke go even higher by increasing the rise velocity. So it's going to go higher. And this looks a lot like real smoke, right? Like something like this. Maybe increase the size a bit. And when you look at it from very far away, it looks like real fire. Or maybe there's a lot of settings you can change, right? Okay, so now we've built a pretty realistic fire with a dark smoke using the smoke effect, and we have this fire, right? So yeah, just remember that a part can have multiple effects. So with two effects, we've created a pretty realistic fire inside Roblox Studio. And now we can have another usage for smoke, which is fog. So let's say I want this part of the map to be very foggy. So fog is like a white thing, like when you go outside after it rains or in the morning, then it's like really white, right? With really blurry, and that's basically fog. So we are going to make it foggy by first increasing the size to very higher, to very big size. So it covers a lot of space. For the smoke, we want it to be smaller because we don't want the smoke to cover all the fire, right? You want the smoke to be on top of the fire, like this. But for fog, we want it to go very wide. So we have to increase the size by a lot, maybe to like 30, right? And you can see that it's still a bit too small. So maybe 100. Wow, now it looks really cool. See? And right now it maybe looks a bit too bright, actually. So maybe now it's a bit too bright. So we're going to lower the opacity. Remember, opacity is how dark it is, maybe to around 0.2. So now it looks something like this. You can see that there's a lot of fog going here. And like when you go inside the smoke, it kind of disappears. I'm not sure of the same thing for the game, but maybe you don't want to use you want to use a smoke for parts that the player can go into. So it looks cool when you look at it from far away, but it doesn't look that cool when you go inside, right? Because then it kind of disappears. Or yeah, maybe it's like behind you or something. It's a bit weird, but mostly it's really cool. Yeah, so that's basically fog. You can see like a white vibe going through it. And when you put it like really far away by moving the part, oh yeah, just to remind you that if you want to change the location of the effect, you can basically just change the location of the part to kind of like change where it is. And for me, I would say I want the smoke to be near the mountains, right? Because normally high mountains have smoke or like fog. So I'm going to make the even bigger, maybe like 300. Okay, I think that's the highest it can go. I'll make it a bit lower so it looks a bit better. I'm going to increase the opacity a bit. All right, that's basically it. So when you put it far away, it's kind of like a small smoke. I mean, like light fog in the mountains. And if you don't really like it, you can change again, the part location. So I think it's still a bit too bright. So we're actually going to lower the opacity to around 0.15, right? Maybe it's still too bright, maybe 0.1. So now you can see like a light fog on the mountains. And then to create multiple, you just have to press duplicate. Remember, duplicate is on the left here on top. We're going to make multiple of these parts so that covers the entire forest here, okay? We're just going to press duplicate, and now we can move this second part around here. So now it covers most of this forest here. Maybe you can move it closer like this, right? So now there's like some fog in the mountains, and we're going to duplicate one more time and moving it to the right and maybe on top of the mountain as well. Right? So now you see the mountain looks much better. All right, that's basically fog with smoke for you. And okay, let's move on. So remember that smoke can be used for many different purposes, including like fog, which we just did, and also for fire, like the dark smoke, right? And this can be done by just changing the settings or properties of the smoke effect. Next, we're going to talk about a really big one called particle emitter. So we're a bit short on time, so I'm just going to talk about it very quickly. Again, what you have to do is go to a part like this. That's the part we just used. Press the plus sign and search particle emitter here. You can just search particle. It should appear. It's the same thing for fire and smoke. You just have to search its name inside when you press the plus. So after you search particle, you can click on this, and immediately you'll see a lot of sparkles going out of it, right? But particle emitter is really cool because you can change how each particle, like what each particle looks like. And that's really cool. So first, let's try to find an image we can kind of put it onto. You can find images in the toolbox. It's where you can usually find Roblox images, or you can upload images, but we'll talk about that maybe next class. So we're just going to click on toolbox inside home, and then we will go to images down here. So after you click on toolbox, the toolbox will open on the left, and then you can see the images here. So when you click on images, it should load, and you can see a bunch of like faces or like hair, but what we want is particle. So we want to click the particle here, or you can type particle inside, and you'll see many different choices. We're going to use this one by copying the asset ID. So after you search particle, you want to right click it. After you right click, there should be a copy asset ID button. I'm not sure if clicking it works, but I guess you can also click it and copy the ID from here, or you can just copy asset ID. And now we're going to paste the ID inside the particle emitter texture. So the texture is like how each particle looks like. So when you paste or you copy and paste the image inside of the particle emitter, then it changes into the image of the text image we just looked at, right? And for particle emitter, there's much more things you can change. So first, obviously, it's the color. So we can change the color to, I want like a green color, or actually I think dark blue color will look better. And you can also change if there's light. So if light is going out of the part by just increasing this light emission. So now there's like a small glow to it. And I'm going to change the color to a bit better, a bit more blue. And now you can basically, but for particle emitter, there's something really cool is that you can have the particle change color while it's moving. So what you have to do is click on the three dots on the right of the color here. Click on this, and you can, so now you see it's all purple, right? But when you click on the end here and you change the color, the particle is going to shift from one color to another. So right now, so this is the starting of the particle. So when a particle appears, then it's going to be right here. But at the end, it's going to be what color it's going to be when it disappears, okay? So this is the beginning when the particle just appeared, and this is the end when the particle disappears. So first, let's make the particle live shorter. So I want each particle to disappear after 2 seconds. So I'm just going to write 2 over here. And now you see each particle disappears after 2 seconds. And that's called lifetime of a particle, like this. And now we're going to make a particle turn blue before it disappears by clicking on here, and you can change to a blue color. So now you can see that is originally a purple color, right? And it becomes a blue color at the end. So that's about changing the color. And you can also change the size with similar technique by clicking on the 3 dots next to the size. So for size, it's the same thing again. First, you have on the left, it's when the part just got into the game, and in the end, it's when the particle disappears, right? So if you want to make it smaller, then you can drag it down. If you want to make it bigger, you can drag it up. And I think this looks really cool. So I'm going to make it bigger like this. So now it's kind of like going up like this, right? Going much more bigger like this. I think this looks really cool. And there's many other things you can change, like how fast it's going. Maybe we can go to like 30. And obviously it's rotation. So rotation wouldn't work here because it's a circle. Any rotation you give to a circle, it's going to be the same thing. But you can make it spread out by typing like 30 here, and now it's going like a bit spread out, or we can make it go all the way by just going 360, right? So I'm going to move it up a bit. So now you can see it looks like a very cool blue smoke effect by going 360, making it spread out 360. And when you move the part around, you can see the part kind of follows it. And actually, I think it looks really cool. This. See? There are other things you can change. For example, like lock to like drag. So if you increase the drag, it's going to move slower when it goes out. And you can also have like a lock to part, which means that the particle will always stay with the part like this. But when you don't have the lock to part, the particle will kind of like follow the part, but not really like always following. So it's something like this. See? So when it's moving, it looks really cool like this. See? Okay. And the Z offset is basically whether you want whether you want the particle to be in front of the part or behind the part. So if you want it to be behind the part, then maybe like -1. I don't think -1, 0. So now it's like behind the part. A lower Z offset means it's going to be further back. So maybe like a -20 will be like completely behind this part, right? But if you want it to be very close, you just have to increase the Z index. And now it's going to be in front of the part, like this. All right, so we kind of ran out of time. I was originally going to talk about sounds, but I guess we can talk about it next lesson. But today, basically, we learned about special effects. We learned about this particle emitter. We learned about the smoke effect. We learned about the fire. And we also learned about sparkles, right? I hope you can use this in the real game. So when you're in your game, you can create something like this to make your game move around. So move when the character is not really moving. You can also make some special effects look cooler. Like when your player shoots a gun, then maybe there can be some particle going out of the gun, which will look really cool. Or like when a player is defeated, you can have like some fire around it. So that also really looks really cool. All right, so if you're still working on your project, then finish step 3, basically the scripting part of the your game. You can always use templates in our class like zombie, tycoon, obby, something like that. And this template can be found inside Roblox Studio. So when you open Roblox Studio, you can see the pirate game template inside it. You just click on it to use it. And for your challenge, begin testing your game. So does your game have any bugs? Can other players play your game? Some questions like that. All right, and that's going to be the end of today's lesson. I hope we had fun learning special effects, and I'll see you next week for our final lesson. Okay? All right, see you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.